Now,
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
5:06 this Monday morning, and what a brilliant psychological move by your Washington Commanders. See, they're in first place in the NFC East, of course, with a 2-1 record. But here's what this is the beautiful psychological manipulation, Julie Gunlock. Clearly, the Commanders are going to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
And they'll be playing the Bills probably in the Super Bowl, and the Bills are going to come in all confident. It's like, oh, we played these guys. We played these guys already, and we dominated them, and we absolutely destroyed them. So it's all psychological. Ron Rivera's brilliant psychological move there yesterday at FedEx.
I see that.
That's what it was. Coming up at 6:35, Denisha Allen from the American Federation for Children will join us. She's also the chairwoman of Black Minds Matter. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Trevor Maddich will maybe give a different take on yesterday's game at FedEx. 8:05, Rich Anderson, chair of the Republican Party of Virginia. And then at 8:35, Julie Perry, teacher and Republican candidate for State Senate, District 36. There, big election coming up. A great time Saturday night at the Loudoun County Republican Patriot Ball.
Yeah,
that's what it was called.
I saw some pictures. The governor was
Governor
there.
Youngkin was there.
With his wine ambassador.
That's correct. That is correct. And I mispronounced Pastor Gary Hamrick's name. I don't know why I called him Harnick instead of Hamrick. Because
I'm usually the one who mispronounces names.
I know. And the pastor
there in spirit.
Well, I had to introduce all of these like Chinese dance troops and
that
Hindu dance troops. I mangled all the names.
Oh, dear.
Absolutely. It was just awful. It wasn't as simple as Vivek Ramaswamy. But I mispronounced the pastor's name, and he went up to give the invocation. He said, clearly Larry's already gone to the wine country today. Yeah. Nice. Thanks, Pastor.
Oh, that's okay.
Thanks for that. But it was a great time.
Yeah.
Wonderful time. Great to see so many people. You're very popular out there in Loudoun County. If you ever want to move out of Alexandria, you'll be.
I know where to go.
Welcome there. You had a good weekend? Everything's good? You're gearing up and ready to go?
Yes, I had it was very funny. At my children's school, there was what they built a garden party. So there were a lot of garden dresses with galoshes on as we got through the mud. But it was lovely, lovely event.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was very nice. And
garden party. Aren't you supposed to say it like that? Garden party.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
I can hear
until around 9:30, and then it was more like a garden party. But anyway.
Were people overserved?
No, not at all. Anyway, it was a lovely event. It was very fun. But yeah, what a weekend.
Yeah, I know. The storm was insane.
Well, you know what this meant was some of the sports things got canceled yesterday. So we had this sort of glorious Sunday of nothing to do except laundry, of course. But
so you sat there and watched the great Commanders game with the man. That was rough.
It's a rough day.
Well, good. I'm glad you had a nice weekend.
Yes, thank
you.
And
thank you to the Loudoun County Republican Committee and Scott Pio, who's doing such an amazing. They raised a ton of money out there to push those candidates through. And it's funny. I saw a lot of people that we know, that we have on the show a lot, candidates, party officials, and every single one of them said the same thing. Governor Youngkin is all in on Loudoun County. Governor Youngkin is putting everything into that. He's raised money, obviously, for Secure Your Vote Virginia, and that's been a big part of the message. I'm told, and I don't know if these are public numbers yet because I got them from an inside party official, but they do the first round of early balloting, and you can you see the numbers. And apparently the number of Republican ballots in the Loudoun County early voting is 4 times what it was in the last election.
Wow. Well, good.
People
need to get tired of this stuff.
This is the way. So we shall see.
That's great.
Did you see? So right after we got off the air, within an hour after getting off the air on Friday, we got the word that Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat senator from New Jersey, he's a Democrat. Did you know that Senator Bob Menendez was a Democrat?
I heard that.
Because if you look at the initial news reports, you wouldn't know. It's amazing how the party affiliation is irrelevant sometimes when someone gets indicted for pretty impressive corruption.
Yep.
Boy, insert the New Jersey jokes here. And we've known this guy is just gross and dirty and corrupt for many years, right? Remember the story. Everyone says, "Oh, well, he was acquitted." Well, I guess technically he was acquitted of the child trafficking.
Yeah.
charges, but it was a hung
It
jury.
really went away. It just went away.
It was a hung jury, which is by legal definition an acquittal. And then
but when I say went away, I mean the media never. It's okay, and it's one of these things where, with any other Republican, if they've ever been involved in anything, they have to revisit that in every news article. Mm-hmm. You'd never know that about Menendez, that he had any kind of, sort of sketchy background or had faced these characters. They never revisit it. But I mean, this was like a Scorsese script, I have to tell you.
I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars of corruption, if
stuffed
not
in
more,
pockets,
stuffed in
gold bars.
In his gold
bars. I mean, remember that scene in Goodfellas when she's like throwing things down the toilet to get rid of it? Like that's in it was Lorraine Bracco, I think. That's all I could see.
Also a New Jersey story. Amazing how it all roads come back to New Jersey. Bob Menendez has been officially indicted now on there is one part of this indictment that talks about how he's about to go in and vote on military spending for Egypt. He texts his wife and tells her exactly what he's going to be voting on and supporting moments from now. She takes that text, forwards it to their contact with the Egyptian government. The Egyptian government contact responds with a thumbs up emoji, which I like that little touch.
Yeah, that is hilarious.
And of course, this guy is allegedly now funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Menendez family. Instead of Hunter Biden's Porsche, we do have a Mercedes involved here. So it's a little classier, not quite as showy. And speaking of Hunter Biden, it's an eerily familiar story here, isn't it? I mean, selling access to the senator in exchange for policy decisions. And of course, Menendez will say, well, I've always been a supporter of Egypt. That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't have to change your vote.
Yeah, and also, why are you talking to them about your vote?
Exactly.
Period.
Exactly. There's a lot of questions, though, that still need to be answered. This is my favorite part. Because we've known he's been under active investigation, right? This is not a secret. This was, we knew that the FBI was investigating him, specifically about a bribery allegation involving a foreign country.
Can I just say one thing also for those who don't know? He's chair of the Foreign Relations Committee.
This is exactly what I was about to say.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. But during the active investigation that everyone's known about, presumably also Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell have known about, he has still sat as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee.
Yeah. Chuck Schumer's too busy dealing with dress codes, though, to really focus on. I mean, give him a break, Larry.
Yeah, he's got to worry about Fetterman getting into
Fetterman's hoodie. That's the big priority for Schumer.
As chairman, Bob has this is coming from the Good Senator's website, Bob has a unique position to help set policy for the way in which the U.S. government confronts key foreign policy issues. Oh, it's a very unique position. He's taken very unique positions in exchange for wire transfers into his accounts. All right. So in a moment, a little bit more of the details of this extraordinary indictment of Senator Bob Menendez and the inevitable question, what does any of this have to do with his deep and abiding love for his son? Because that's the only explanation here. We'll get to that in a moment. It's 5:15. WMAL traffic.
It's 1939. News Talk 105.9.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Now, he's throwing that wife of his right under the bus on all this, right? There's no questions asked. It was all her. I didn't know anything about it. This is going to, you mentioned Martin Scorsese. I mean, this is like one of his films or an episode of The Sopranos.
David Chase, yeah. I mean, let's just say, if I were to.
Yes.
She just looks a little like a mob boss girlfriend.
What are you saying?
Yeah. So,
what are you saying exactly? She is a recent wife, isn't she?
Oh, is that it?
I think there was I believe so. Mm. Yeah, she does have a look about her. Arslanian is her, Nadine Arslanian.
Okay.
Which I think means she's Armenian. Every person from Armenia's last name is Enian.
Her middle name is Carmela.
Well, that seems to be the vibe.
It's like
coming out
I mean,
there.
it is
born
like
in Lebanon to Armenian parents.
I just have to say, it's like a parody. It is. I mean, she definitely suits a role. She fits a role.
Speaking of parody, Bob Menendez did respond to this. He's not stepping down. He's not, resigning. He's not doing anything.
He stepped down from foreign relations, though.
I don't think he had a choice,
right,
did he?
Right,
I think finally it's like, okay, now that you're officially indicted, you can't be,
They were
get
pulling
your
him
hand
out by
out
his
of the cookie
ankles,
jar.
yeah.
But in his statement, his defiant statement, denying all culpability, of course, and declaring that he will in no way step down from his role as the senior senator from New Jersey. He also said, "It's not lost on me that the Justice Department and the deep state, suddenly there's a deep state, thanks,
of course,
Bob, is coming after one of the only Latino
senators here we go.
in the United States." Because when I think Bob Menendez, I think, he's like Alexandria Ocasio-Menendez over there, with the righteous fist in the air.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time down the border. He spent a lot of time down the border. He really cares about the crisis on the border,
Sure.
So yeah. What I loved about this story the most is that during the searches, they found things stuffed in coat pockets.
Yeah.
And
envelopes stuffed with cash in the sock drawer, I believe, was also one of the places.
Are they all Sandy Berger? Honest, I just keep doing this.
Now, to defend himself, he has hired a lawyer. Senator Menendez has hired Abby Lowell. Does that name sound familiar?
It does.
Abby Lowell also represents the aforementioned Hunter Biden.
Good.
So, boy, talking about having a skill set. So what kind of law practice do you have?
Can you imagine the Silkwood showers Abby Lowell takes at night?
Oh, I'm sure Abby Lowell is just fine with his conscience, looking himself in the mirror. This is why the world needs more lawyers. Now, remember, in 2015, he was charged for allegedly accepting illegal gifts from a Florida ophthalmologist. Remember, they were best pals. Lots of trips on private planes, trips down to the Dominican, allegedly with many underage girls. Very Jeffrey Epstein type stuff. It was dropped by the Justice Department because the jury was deadlocked on it. But understand what a deadlocked jury means. It means that even in this day and age, and in the jurisdictions we're talking about, a jury which is always stacked in favor of Democrats, like always, there were still a handful of jurors that were willing to say, "Oh yeah, he's guilty of sin. Of course he's guilty." So, because I have no faith in the jury system right now when it comes to federal charges involving a Democrat or a Republican.
No,
and even then, there were enough on the jury to say, "Yeah, he's guilty."
And Abby Lowell represented him in that case.
Sure,
well. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So good for you, Abby. You enjoy all that money. I'm sure
gold bars,
and all the gold bars that you'll be paid with. But there's more connections to Hunter Biden that we'll share with you in a moment. Now, obviously, the direct comparison to Hunter Biden's behavior. One wonders if everything that he and his wife are accused of doing is what Hunter Biden did. The only difference is he did it himself instead of having his son do it.
Yeah. Yes.
In front of him. That's how you're supposed to do it. Honestly, Menendez should be arrested and indicted for stupidity. Joe's shown you the way here, Bob.
Yeah.
Obviously, this way. By the way, he's a Democrat. Did I mention that?
You did.
Bob Menendez, Democrat, longtime friend of Joe Biden, too. They were pals together, colleagues.
They're besties.
They were very tight.
Very tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shocking. It's 5:21.
Making sense of your world.
I agree with you 100%.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
There's a lot of us out there.
Making sense of the news.
It's 5:36. It's O'Connor and Company Monday morning. We're chugging along here like Bob Menendez on a Mideast junket. Except we're not stuffing our underwear with cash. Yet. Coming up at 6:35, Denisha Allen, American Federation for Children, will join us. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Trevor Maddich on the Commanders' brilliant strategy to lose to the Bills yesterday to get ready for the Super Bowl. They won't see us coming this way. 8:05, Rich Anderson, chair of the Republican Party in Virginia. And then at 8:35, Julie Perry. She's a teacher and Republican candidate for Virginia State Senate. We talked about her case on Friday where the school board member is going after her and using her power as a school board member to try to
intimidate her
at the school and intimidate her.
Yeah.
It's like she's a Democrat or something. All right, Tom Cotton, you remember this story. Tom Cotton wrote a letter to the Secretary of Defense demanding answers about why the new policy at the Pentagon is when somebody is getting a meritorious achievement,
yes,
an honor, a medal, a promotion, that they would no longer describe their actions utilizing pronouns he or her, himself, herself. Sergeant Julie Gunlock acquitted herself with valor and courage. No, it won't be that. It would be Sergeant Gunlock acquitted themselves.
Yeah, I mean, bad grammar was basically going to be
it literally makes no sense.
Yes, it makes no sense.
Yeah. So Cotton says, come on, I want answers. I want to know exactly da-da-da-da-da. And it was a great letter. We read it on the air. It was so good. Well, he's gotten his response. The Pentagon is now rolling back their gender-neutral pronoun requirements for all the joint military awards. So all it took was a senator to publicly ridicule them and put it out there.
It just these moments make you go, who is in charge? Because we've seen Millie go up there, and Matt Gaetz and other people have put these sort of woke baby books, right, and have alerted them. Did you know at this particular Air Force base there's a drag queen story hour? And Millie and the others, they say, I have no idea. I'd like more information. I mean, who is in charge? And it tells you that there's sort of these lower level people within the Pentagon that are super woke and are putting together these policies. And senior leadership either doesn't know or they're lying about it. Well, I'm not really sure which one.
Yeah, I was going to say, with all respect to General Milley, he is in charge, at least as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, even though in the chain of command he literally has no actual power. But he knows, Lloyd Austin knows, they were lying when they said they had no idea about it. If it were a Democrat majority and Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House and somebody called them out on the fact that there are drag shows at an Air Force base, instead of saying, what? I had no idea. They would respond and say, you're welcome. You're welcome. That's right. We did exactly what you wanted us to do. They know exactly. And all it needs to do is get called out like Senator Cotton has done here.
Yeah.
And they're taking direction from, as well they should. Listen, the commander-in-chief, a civilian president, civilians are in charge of the military ultimately, and they are taking commands from this president. This president has wanted to alter the Department of Defense until it's just unrecognizable, and this is all part of it.
Yes, but let's look. The military has allies in Congress, right? And in particular members, and there could have been some pushback earlier. Tom Cotton's staff, good job on his staff's part as well, got wind of this. But, military leaders have ways probably of alerting Congress that certain things are going on. And I don't think that was done. So, I think there's an awful lot of people at the Department of Defense that are just fine with this stuff.
Well, that is the problem, that there was no one there before this went through. Because in the military, it gets signed off by multiple layers. And nobody said, seriously, guys, really?
Right.
And, this is the Manual of Military Decorations and Awards, by the way. It's known as a Change 6. The change that's been put in place now revises the language used in joint award citations and updates references. It used to require award citations to use themselves, a word not recognized by standard English, instead of himself or herself. The language was discovered by Heritage Foundation. Good for you, Heritage.
Yeah.
And that put it on the radar with Tom Cotton. And then the senator publicly humiliated them. But I still think you should have a hearing. Who made these decisions?
Exactly.
All of these documents, they've got protocols in place. Everything gets signed off on. There is a paper trail on all of this. We want names.
Yeah.
We want to know who came up with the idea. Did it come from the administration, or did someone at the Pentagon decide this? And what was the approval process? Because it's degrading. It's absolutely degrading.
Well, I mean, Larry, we
morale.
still haven't found. I mean, look, we still haven't found out. Nobody seems to be asking. Well, there are people asking questions, but there doesn't seem to be many answers on the mandate, the vaccine mandate that happened. I mean, there are lots of things that I would like to know how they came to these decisions. Yeah. And here we are, almost 3 years later, and we don't know. So.
The letter that Senator Cotton sent on September 8th ended with this statement. I would welcome a reply that this whole episode was just a practical joke, or a decision you immediately reversed when it came to your attention. I don't think that was a rhetorical statement, by the way. I think that the senator, I would like to know, too, was this a joke, or is it something that anybody actually stood up and said something about? But this is why we need to continue to push back on this stuff, and we will. And too many people at the Pentagon and too many people in politics or in the media say, "Oh, what does it really matter?"
Can you imagine as parents getting a letter that says has this bad grammar and this woke language? Can you imagine the people who make up our military, the patriots that serve, they can't control this stuff. Right. And the idea that this was accepted by our military is shameful.
Yeah, I can't imagine it, actually.
I know.
It would be rough. 7. Oh, David Brooks. David Brooks is the conservative. Sorry. Conservative columnist at the New York Times. When you're the will you remind me, please, if the New York Times or Washington Post ever approaches me and says, you know what, we'd really like you to be our conservative columnist.
Never happened.
Clearly, I've gone in the wrong direction.
I will. I'll bring you back.
I don't ever want to be the kind of conservative that the New York Times would approve of. Like David French. He's the other one, right?
Yes, that's right.
The Davids. Oh, yeah. So David Brooks, he tends, and once in a while, he actually writes a pretty good column, I have to say.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's roll your eyes kind of conservative.
A little bit.
Thought.
Yep.
And he just tends to step in it quite a bit, and he did it last week. So he tweeted out a photograph of his meal at Newark Airport. And it looks like something from the Fry Festival, right? Remember?
It does.
It looks like a pulled pork sandwich and a handful of French fries. And a what I guess could pass as a salad.
I think it was a burger. Wasn't it a burger?
Oh, was it a burger? I thought it was.
Well, no, you're right. It could be pulled pork.
No,
okay,
maybe
sorry.
it's a burger because he's got ketchup on it.
The point is, it's a sandwich.
He tweeted it out, and it says, "This meal just cost me $78 at Newark Airport. This is why Americans think the economy is terrible." Now, first of all, the economy is terrible. And
yes, but you first look at this, and you're like, initially,
how could that be $78?
You're like, well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes my bill, I'm shocked.
But it is literally a burger and fries and a little salad.
But then you look up right above, what's right above the sandwich?
It's a nice little glass
Amber.
of beverage. I'm sure it was ginger ale, right?
Right, but it's only half filled. So you're like, okay, that's not, and there's no straw in it. And it's amber.
It's bourbon is what it is. And apparently it's not cheap bourbon because
it's David Brooks.
The restaurant. In fact, people on Twitter saw this and noticed the glass of bourbon and said, does that include the bourbon there?
Bullet.
That's $78.
Exactly.
Yeah, the maker's mark, the double maker's mark, perhaps. The restaurant I love this. The restaurant has spoken out about this. Apparently, the meal itself was under $20.
Yes.
It was the bourbon. It was 100% the bourbon.
Now, I would like...
It was over $50 worth of bourbon.
I would like to have a conversation of why a burger and fries, or like a pulled pork, whatever. I guess it was a burger. And by the way, it didn't look that good. Was $20. That's a whole different, because, I'm sure a lot of people like me, they go to and you're like, why is every meal $20?
It's true.
Like a cup of soup, $20. Yeah. I feel like everything's $20. But that's not the conversation. He made it sort of laughable because clearly $50 of that.
People are hurting out there.
Yeah.
People are dying. Look at, I'm a columnist at the New York Times. I can afford this $78 burger. But normal people, they can't do it.
David Brooks has gotten himself in trouble in the past. I don't know if you remember his sort of deli gate issue where he took his secretary to a sandwich shop and then said in a column, said that she just has I made a mistake by taking her to too gourmet of a sandwich shop. She only has a high school degree and she didn't know what capicola was. And of course, she might have been uncomfortable because of you, David, not the capicola and the fact that you're so weird. Okay, maybe that's why she was uncomfortable. So it was this incredibly insulting that got published. It got published in the New York Times. So David needs to stop with the food takes.
So we had a whole class distinction thing.
Oh, yeah. It was so embarrassing.
Education distinctions over capicola. By the way, the guy at the deli, so he ended up taking her to a deli, right?
Yeah, he says insensitive. He was insensitive, and I took her to a gourmet sandwich shop. And then he tells this awkward story. And again, it's just... I don't know that it was, and he basically suggested that people who don't have a college degree are going to be confused by things like prosciutto.
And you should be sensitive to them.
And you should be sensitive. So take him to the dumpy deli.
I'm guessing the dude at the gourmet sandwich shop who made the sandwich knows what capicola is. So
I suspect.
I don't think he connected the dots on this one.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's very funny when these people who live in a total bubble, okay, they don't get out much. And then they try to go out of that bubble, but end up making a total fool of themselves. And again, David Brooks seemingly to forget that he bought a $50 glass of bourbon, which by the way looks like a double.
So the restaurant, if I were David Brooks, I'd be drinking bourbon too. I like him more because he's washing down his burger at Newark Airport with a bourbon. Yeah. Who among us?
Who doesn't need a drink
exactly at Newark Airport in particular? So the restaurant in question is the 1911 Smokehouse Barbecue, which the original is in Newark, I believe, but then they put one in the airport. They tweeted out the article about this and said, "Looks like someone was knocking back some serious drinks. Bar tab was 80%, and he's complaining about the cost of his meal. Keep drinking, buddy. We get paid off everything."
Good for the Smokehouse.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, in fact, the Smokehouse is now, if you go to Newark Airport, they are offering the $17.78 David Brooks special, which is the exact meal that he bought. It actually cost $17.78, which, by the way, is still a lot of money.
And actually, what's interesting is that deli I mentioned earlier, they have the You're Too Stupid bologna sandwich also on offer for anyone who is intimidated by capicola and prosciutto.
Yeah, just have some bologna. And if you want a daily dose of bologna, just read David Brooks' columns in the New York Times. It's 5:53.